Men in black shirts attacked these students. Someone with a video camera on a tall building nearby filmed the whole thing. You can watch the black shirts attack these students with Ma standing there 10 feet away. The black shirts pushed the students backward. 2 to 3 black shirts on each student. And then the police moved in. And did the police protect the students for their lawful activity? No. The police took custody of the students and dragged them down the streets. And the black shirts filtered out into the crowd. Nothing happened. The students were released after interrogation. And the black shirts got away with it. Right in front of Ma. Right there on the streets of the city. Right in plain sight. Black shirt activity is not what a democracy is about. I just came back from a 10-day trip to Taiwan. And with my own eyes, I saw police brutality. I went to visit President Chen at the Taipei Detention Center where he's being held. While I was waiting to get in to see President Chen, a police car had driven up and parked inside the gate. I was about a half a block into the prison in a building waiting to go in to see the president. And all of a sudden I heard shouting, yelling, and so I looked out the door, and then I noticed the police car. The police car was parked there, the door was open, and a man was standing between the door and the car itself, doing nothing, standing there totally passively. And a policeman with a helmet and a bulletproof vest was this far from his face, yelling at him, yelling so loudly I could hear him half a block away. And then he yelled louder, and I could see the policeman's face was flush red with rage, his face contorted into an ugly look. And then he shoved the prisoner, shoved him in against the car, and the man's head hit the car. And they pushed him in the car, and the car drove off. And with my own eyes, I got to see the ugly face of ROC brutality. Then I went in to see President Chen. We were in a small room, but not together. Between me and the president stood a bulletproof glass wall with bars. And he's in it's totally surrounded by cement. I'm totally surrounded by cement. I wasn't allowed to take anything in, not a pen, not a paper. There was no way that I had any direct contact with him. There was no way he could have left the room. And we still had 3 guards. One standing right behind my back, one standing right behind his back. And the one standing by him was busy taking notes. But he didn't need to take notes because we had to talk through a phone, which no doubt the 3rd policeman that was watching through a window was recording. All intimidation. Intimidation designed to keep Chen quiet. Intimidation designed to keep people from visiting. While I was in Taiwan, I met with a wealthy and powerful businessman, active in the DPP. Ku Kwang Ming owns a large fishing fleet. We went up to his office, very expensive plush office. His secretaries dutifully bowing. Obviously a man used to leadership. And we talked about international politics. But as I got up to leave, and he stood up to shake my hand, all of the trappings of leadership fell away. And suddenly I was looking into the eyes of a frightened man. And Mr. Ku said to me, "Please help us." Words that I would hear at every stop I went to. The next time I heard, "Please help us," was in Kaohsiung. I'd given a speech, the same speech you've heard, in an open park. 1,000 people present. Afterwards, I was standing near the front as we were getting ready to go, and a man in a dirty t-shirt with bad teeth, a poor man, an old man, came up and said, "Please help us." Again and again, I would hear that. When I went to Taichung, the group I was with didn't tell me where we were headed. I thought we were going to the hotel. We arrived in downtown and went to a building, and all of a sudden I realized this isn't a hotel, it's an office building. We went up in the elevator, and I went into an office. I didn't know what it was. There was desks, secretaries. We went into a conference room. I sat down and I said, well, it's about lunchtime. I guess here's where we're going to eat lunch. And as I'm looking around, trying to figure out what kind of business is this, the station manager of Ocean Voice Radio came in, welcomed me to the studio, and I learned I was at a radio station. And I would later see the broadcast booth. And then he said, this is our 15th anniversary of illegal broadcasts. And I said, illegal broadcasts? How can that be? This is a radio station. To me, an illegal radio station is something that operates out of a van at night and goes from one intersection to the next and is low power. But this was a radio station. And he said, we've applied for a license 6 times, and we're always turned down. And I said, well, maybe there's a frequency problem. The licenses are issued to protect radio frequencies so that one station doesn't interfere with the signal of another. He said, no, this is a clear signal. I said, well, why did they turn you down? He says, they don't even tell us. I said, well, how can you operate without a license? He said, well, they come in and they arrest and they harass and they raid. And then he told me that 2 station employees had committed suicide because of the persecution and the pressure. Most recent was December of 2008. The station manager in Taipei set himself on fire. Clearly a political statement. I said, well, what about arrests? That must be in the past. That can't be now. He said, no, we had 4 arrests last year. I said, well, what about the raids? That must be in the past. He said, no, they raided us in February, a few weeks ago. And I wasn't prepared for that. I really wasn't. So, there's much to be done. There's much to be done. For myself, I'm going to continue writing, and writing much. I initially was motivated by my desire as an American citizen to try to correct the wrongs of my government. Now I've got the love of Taiwan in my heart, and I've got these images, these requests to please help us. The man being shoved against the car, the radio station being raided. So I'm going to do what I can. What I think that we here in America need to do to help the people in Taiwan is get the Congress to act. The courts have shown us through the Roger Lin case, they're sympathetic. The District of Columbia U.S. Court of Appeals said the stateless people of Taiwan are living in political purgatory. But the court would not act further because the court lacked war power. And President Obama has been silent about Taiwan. All that Obama has ever said is in November when he went for his trip to the Great Wall, is he said he subscribed to the one China policy and Taiwan was part of China. That's what we get out of the president. So I think it's the Congress where we must act. There's 435 representatives and 100 senators. That's a House with 535 doors. Plenty of opportunity. Every person in this room has got a congressman, a representative, and 2 senators. That's 3 people each of you can contact. about the problems in Taiwan. It's been over 10 years since Congress had hearings about Taiwan. It's been over 10 years since the United States had a foreign policy review about Taiwan. And it's time for some action in Washington. And we need to let our voices be heard. So right now I'd like you to help me practice raising our voice. Will you stand up and raise your voice for Taiwan? Stand up with me. Taiwan! Taiwan! Taiwan!